Hey everyone, this is Jungkook. Before we start, I want to know where you're listening from. Drop your country in the comments below. I've been thinking about something for a long time, longer than I've ever admitted out loud, and maybe today's the first time I can actually say it. I know who my future wife is, and no, I'm not saying I'm getting married tomorrow, or that there's a date set, or even that the world will ever see it happen. What I mean is, I finally understand what kind of person she is, the kind of love I'm ready for, and what it took for me to reach that place. Because for years, I wasn't ready at all. You see, when you grow up inside something as massive as BTS, you don't really learn what normal love looks like. You learn schedules, cameras, practice rooms, pressure, and perfection. You learn how to perform emotions before you learn how to live them. And every time someone asks, so when are you getting married? I used to laugh, dodge the question, or make a joke. But the truth is, that question terrified me, not because I didn't want love, but because I didn't know how to let myself have it. I used to think love meant slowing down, changing who I was to fit what someone else needed. I'd seen it happen around me, people compromising so much they lost the parts of themselves that made them alive. I didn't want that. I'm the kind of person who gives everything when I care about something, and that can be dangerous. When you give your all to one thing, music, art, the stage, it can leave no room for someone else, or at least that's what I believe. But lately, something shifted. Maybe it's growing up, maybe it's watching my hyungs handle their own relationships. Maybe it's watching how life doesn't wait for anyone, not even for BTS. I started asking myself what kind of partner could walk beside me through all of this chaos. Not behind me, not in front of me, beside me. Someone who doesn't see my work as competition. Someone who doesn't want to fix me, but wants to understand me. I remember one night in the studio, I was sitting with Yoongijungkook. We weren't even talking about marriage. We were just talking about balance, how he finds peace between music and solitude. He told me something that stuck. You can't share your life with someone if you're still hiding from your own. That hit hard. Because for years, I'd been hiding from the idea that I might never fit the picture everyone imagined for me. Fans dream about weddings, suits, big smiles. But real life isn't a fairy tale. It's timing, understanding, and choosing each other, even when it's inconvenient. Taehyung once said, "Love should never ask you to shrink." That's when it clicked for me. I realized I'd been afraid of love because I thought it meant losing the part of me that burns for music, the part that stays up all night chasing a lyric or a melody. But the right person won't fight that fire, they'll protect it. They'll stand in the smoke with you and still see the beauty. I started imagining what kind of person could do that. Not famous, not perfect, not someone who checks every box on paper, just someone real, someone who understands that being with me means dealing with long flights, missed birthdays, restless nights, and quiet moments in hotel rooms when the world feels too loud. Someone who knows that I'll sometimes disappear into music, not because I'm distant, but because that's how I breathe. Someone who's okay sitting in the silence with me without trying to fill it. I've met people who are beautiful, kind, and caring, but not aligned. They love the version of Jungkook they saw on stage. Not the one who gets lost in his head, who overthinks every lyric, who struggles with sleep. I can't blame them. Maybe I was guilty too, loving their idea more than their reality. I thought maybe love was about fixing, shaping, becoming, but now I get it. Real love doesn't remodel you, it recognizes you. There's this moment I keep remembering from last year, me, Jimin, and Taehyung sitting backstage after a show. We were exhausted, barely speaking. Then Taehyung looked at me and said, "You ever think about what kind of husband you'll be?" Jimin laughed, but I couldn't, because I didn't know the answer. Taehyung said, "I think you'll love deeply, but you'll always need your freedom." That line never left me. It felt like he'd read a page of my soul I hadn't opened yet. Freedom and love, can they really exist together? That's the question I keep asking. Because if I ever get married, it won't be because people expect it or because it looks good on paper. It'll be because I found someone who gives me that feeling of freedom even when I'm holding their hand. Someone who doesn't ask me to choose between my purpose and my heart. The old me would have tried to balance it, half music, half love. But that's not real balance. Balance isn't giving each thing 50%. It's giving each moment 100% of yourself when you're in it. That's what I want now. Someone who understands that sometimes my heart belongs to the stage and sometimes it belongs to the quiet. Someone who gets that loving me means loving the chaos that comes with it. When I think about marriage now, I don't picture tuxedos or cameras. I picture peace, not perfection peace. Someone I can come home to and not have to perform for. Someone who doesn't see Jungkook the idol, but just Jungkook, the person who forgets to eat when he's writing a song. The one who gets nervous before performing even after 1,000 shows. The one who loves fiercely but quietly. People always ask if I'm scared to settle down. The truth is, I'm not scared of marriage. I'm scared of marrying the wrong version of myself. Because love changes you, and I want it to change me for the better, not into someone else. I want to be with someone who helps me stay grounded, not someone who demands that I stop flying. I think about Jeon a lot when it comes to this stuff. He's calm, grounded, patient. He always reminds me that timing matters more than anything. When you're ready, he said once, you won't need to chase it. You'll just know. Maybe that's what this feeling is right now, me finally knowing. Knowing that I'm ready for the idea of forever, even if forever doesn't start today. I've learned something from every member when it comes to love. Namjoon taught me self-respect. Yoongi taught me honesty. J-Hope taught me to love loudly. Jimin taught me gentleness. Taehyung taught me patience. And Jin taught me timing. Put all those lessons together, and maybe that's the map to finding my future wife. Not someone who completes me, but someone who reflects me. So yeah, maybe I don't have a date or a ring or even a name to share. But I know her because she's the one who will understand this version of me. The version that's done pretending not to care about things deeply. The version that's not afraid to admit that love doesn't scare me anymore, it just challenges me. If you've ever felt like you were waiting for the right moment to love someone or to be loved, maybe that moment isn't about finding them, it's about becoming ready for them. That's what I'm learning. I'm not waiting for a woman to appear and fix everything. I'm becoming the man who can love the way she deserves. And when that happens, when timing, purpose, and peace align, I'll be ready, truly ready. I used to think being ready for love meant having everything figured out, career, stability, peace of mind. But lately, I've realized that readiness isn't about perfection, it's about awareness. It's about knowing what you can give, what you can't, and being honest about it. For the longest time, I wasn't honest. I told myself that I couldn't date, couldn't even think about marriage because I was too busy, too focused, too not normal. But that was an excuse. The truth is, I was scared that whoever came into my life would never understand the world I live in. People see the stage, the lights, the energy. They don't see the silence that comes after. The moment when the crowd disappears, and it's just me staring at the ceiling in a dark hotel room, wondering if I'm doing the right thing with my life. That's the version of me. I'm scared to show someone the quiet, restless, overthinking me. The one who can't sleep without music playing, who sometimes gets lost in thoughts that go nowhere. But maybe the right person won't be scared of that version. Maybe she'll sit in that silence with me and call it peace instead of loneliness. I remember something J-Hope said once during one of our breaks. We were sitting outside the studio and he looked at me and said, "You don't need someone to understand your schedule, Jungkook. You need someone to understand your silence." At first, I didn't get it, but now I do. Because silence says more than words when you've spent years surrounded by noise. For years, my life has been about momentum, album after album, show after show, country after country. Every time we'd finish something, I'd tell myself, "You'll rest after this." But I never did. And when you're always running, it's hard to notice what you're running from. I think I was running from stillness, because stillness forces you to face yourself. It forces you to admit what's missing, even when everything looks perfect from the outside. The funny thing is, the more I understand myself, the more I understand what kind of love I need. I don't want someone who worships me. I don't want someone who's scared to tell me I'm wrong. I want someone who can ground me. Someone who can look at me when I'm spiraling and say, hey, breathe, you're okay. Someone who sees the human behind the name. Sometimes I imagine what that relationship might look like. Not glamorous, not picture perfect, just real. Maybe it's us cooking ramen at 2 a.m. after a long day. Maybe it's her stealing my hoodie and laughing because it smells like the studio. Maybe it's sitting in the car together, no music, just quiet understanding. I don't need fireworks. I've had enough of those on stage. I just want something steady, something that doesn't demand to be seen to be real. There's something I learned from Jimin too. He loves with such intention. When he cares about you, you feel it in the smallest ways, in how he listens, how he shows up, even when you didn't ask him to. I used to watch that and wonder if I could ever love like that. I think I can now, but not until I stop treating love like a performance. Love isn't choreography. It's messy, unpredictable, sometimes painful, but it's honest. And that honesty is what I crave the most now. You know what's weird? When I look back at my younger self, the one who used to dream about the future, I realize I never actually pictured being married. I always pictured being ready to be married. There's a difference. Back then, I thought love was supposed to complete you. Now I understand that love's supposed to meet you. You have to arrive whole. You can't hand someone your broken pieces and say, fix me. You say, here I am. I'm still learning, but I'm willing. Sometimes when I talk to Namjoon about life, he always says something that shakes me a little. The last time we talked, he said, we always say we'll know the right person when we find them. But I think we only recognize them when we've done the work to become who we need to be. That's deep, but it's true. Because love isn't about luck, it's about readiness. And maybe that's where I am now. Not waiting for someone magical to appear, but building the kind of life that someone can walk into. Building the kind of peace that someone can share without losing themselves. I don't need someone to rescue me or to idolize me. I just need someone who fits beside me when the world gets quiet. There's one more thing I've realized, and it's probably the most important part. For a long time, I thought my purpose was everything. Music, work, goals, achievements. But lately, I've been thinking about something different. Maybe purpose isn't just what you do, it's who you do it with. Maybe the right partner doesn't take you away from your dreams, they expand them. They give you new reasons to grow, new ways to see the world. I've been blessed to live my dream surrounded by the 6 brothers who've seen every version of me tired, frustrated, laughing, inspired, lost, everything. They're the only ones who've really seen what this life feels like on the inside. That's why I know if I ever bring someone into this world, it won't just be me she's marrying, it'll be all of it. The pressure, the fame, the constant attention, the expectations, and she'll have to be strong enough to handle it, but also kind enough to remind me that I'm human beneath it all. Sometimes I think about what kind of message I'd want to give her now, even before she exists in my life. Maybe I'd say this: don't try to save me. Just walk beside me. Don't quiet my chaos. Dance with it. Don't be afraid of my silence. Sit in it. I don't need perfect love. I need honest love. And if you're listening right now, maybe you feel that too. Maybe you've been afraid of love because it means vulnerability, risk, change. But love isn't a threat, it's a mirror. It reflects where you are and what you're ready for. And when I look into that mirror now, I finally see a version of myself that's not running from it anymore. So yeah, I'm not engaged, I'm not announcing anything, but for the first time, I can say with a clear heart, I know who my future wife is. Not because I've met her, but because I've met the part of myself that's ready to meet her. And that's enough for now. You know what's strange? The older I get, the more I understand that love isn't a movie scene, it's maintenance. It's waking up every day and choosing patience over pride, honesty over comfort. And maybe that's why I never rushed it. Because I've seen what happens when you fall in love with an image instead of a person. I don't want to live that. I don't want to promise forever to someone when I'm still figuring out what forever really means. Sometimes I ask myself, if I met her tomorrow, my future wife, would she recognize me? Would she see the same Jungkook everyone else sees? Or would she see the side that stays quiet even when surrounded by millions of voices? I hope she sees that side first, because that's the real me. The version that's still learning, still fighting, still tender underneath all the strength people think I have. I talked to Taehyung the other night about this. He said something that hit me hard. Maybe love isn't about finding someone new. It's about remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. And maybe he's right. Because lately, I've been trying to meet that version of myself again. The one who sang just because it felt good. Who laughed without worrying about how it would look, who believed that love could be simple. Somewhere along the way, fame made everything complicated. Every move gets analyzed, every glance turned into a rumor. That's why love feels like a secret mission sometimes. You have to protect it from the world before it even begins. But I'm not bitter about that. If anything, it taught me something important. Real love doesn't need proof. It doesn't need photos or headlines or validation. It just needs truth. And I think that's why I'm finally calm when I think about marriage. Now, I don't picture crowds or cameras or fancy vows. I just picture two people sitting across from each other saying, let's try our best. That's it. Because love isn't about grand gestures, it's about quiet consistency. Jin always tells me I overthink everything. He's right. I analyze feelings like lyrics, trying to make them rhyme, trying to make them make sense. But some feelings aren't supposed to fit perfect. They're supposed to challenge you, stretch you, soften you. I used to think being strong meant not needing anyone. Now, I think strength is letting someone in and trusting they won't leave when they see the messy part. I think about my parents sometimes and how their kind of love looks nothing like the movies. They had tough days, unspoken sacrifices, quiet forgiveness. That's the kind of love I respect. Not the kind that's always smiling, but the kind that stays even when it's hard. That's what I want to build someday. Something that lasts, not because it's easy, but because both people choose it over and over. I remember one night on tour, I was looking out from the stage at thousands of lights. For a moment, I thought, how could I ever be lonely with this many people loving me? But as soon as the music stopped, that feeling faded. Because what I really crave isn't attention, it's connection. Someone who sees me without the lights. Someone who doesn't need me to perform to believe I'm worth loving. Namjoon once said, the hardest part of love is accepting that it doesn't always fit your schedule. You can't plan it like a comeback. You can't rehearse it like a performance. It just happens. Maybe that's why I've stopped trying to control it. I've stopped saying, not now, or maybe later. If it's meant to come, it'll come. And when it does, I'll be ready to meet it with an open heart. Not a checklist. Sometimes I wonder if the person meant for me is out there right now, doing something ordinary, making coffee, listening to music, walking somewhere under the same sky. And maybe she has no idea that somewhere else I'm thinking about her. I don't mean that in a romantic movie way, it's just a quiet thought that gives me peace. Knowing that timing is bigger than my plans. J-Hope said something during one of our long drives that I keep repeating in my head. You don't find love, Jungkook, you grow into it. And maybe that's exactly what's happening. Maybe this version of me, more grounded, more self-aware, more peaceful, is growing into the kind of person who can hold love without breaking it. There are nights when I still feel like a kid trying to figure it all out. But maybe that's okay. Maybe that's part of the process. The more I learn about myself, the more space I make for someone else to exist beside me. Not behind me, not in front, just beside. That's what readiness feels like now. It's not certainty, it's peace. And when that day comes, when I look at her and know it won't be because it's perfect, it'll be because it's honest. Because I'll see myself in her calmness, her laughter, her strength. I'll see the reflection of everything I've been preparing for without even realizing it. That's when I'll say, yeah, I'm ready. There's this thing I realized about timing. It doesn't just decide when you meet someone. It decides who you are when you meet them. And that changes everything. Because love isn't about finding the right person. It's about being the right version of yourself when that person finally walks in. That's what I'm preparing for now. Not the wedding, not the ring. Just the moment when I can meet someone as the most honest version of myself. I think for a long time, I was scared that love would slow me down, that it would pull me away from everything I've worked for. But now, I see it differently. The right love doesn't pull you away, it keeps you steady. It gives you something to come home to. It reminds you that life isn't just about stages or awards. It's about small moments that nobody sees. I remember talking to Yoongijungkook once, and he said, when you find peace, you'll find her. That line didn't make sense at first. I thought peace would come after finding her. But he was right, it starts inside you. Because if you're still at war with yourself, no one can save you. You'll turn love into a battlefield instead of a home. I've done that before, pushed people away because I didn't know how to let them stay. I thought being distant made me stronger. I thought independence meant never needing anyone. But independence isn't isolation, it's balance. It's knowing you can stand alone, but still choosing to stand beside someone when it feels right. Sometimes, I look back at old interviews and see myself giving answers about love that sound confident but weren't real. I'd say, I'm too busy for relationships, or I'm married to music. And yeah, that sounded cool. But the truth is, it was fear. Fear of distraction, fear of heartbreak, fear of vulnerability. Because once you let someone in, they see the cracks, they see the parts of you you've been hiding even from yourself. But now, I think the real strength is in letting those cracks be visible. Because the right person doesn't fill them, they love you through them. That's the kind of love I want. The kind where you don't have to be perfect to be chosen. There's a story Taehyung told me once. He said when his grandparents got married, they didn't have much. But every night before bed, they'd hold hands and promise to wake up grateful the next day. That's it. No expensive vows, no social media, no show, just gratitude and choice. And I remember thinking, that's what I want. That's what I'm waiting for. The kind of love that feels safe, not loud. Sometimes people assume I want someone famous, someone who understands the industry, but maybe that's not true. Maybe I just want someone real. Someone who knows what it's like to build a life quietly, who doesn't need to be seen to feel valued. Someone who can make the world feel calm even when everything else is chaos. It's funny how the members all have different takes on love. Namjoon sees it as poetry. Yoongi sees it as truth. J-Hope sees it as light. Jimin sees it as healing. Taehyung sees it as art. Jin sees it as stability. And I think I see it as rhythm, like music. Sometimes fast, sometimes slow, sometimes offbeat, but always alive. And when I meet her, I hope our rhythms match. Not perfectly, but in harmony. And maybe she'll understand that being with me won't always be easy. That I'll have days when I'm distant because I'm lost in a song, or when I forget to reply because my mind is somewhere on stage. But she'll also know that when I'm with her, I'm really there. No half attention, no pretending, just presence. I used to think love was about finding someone to calm the chaos. Now I think it's about finding someone who can dance in it with you. Because life won't always be peaceful. Fame won't always be kind. But love, the real kind, doesn't need perfect conditions. It just needs courage. I guess that's what this whole journey has been about, finding courage. The courage to stop pretending I'm too busy for happiness. The courage to believe that I can have both music and love, work and warmth, stage and silence. I don't have to choose one over the other. I think about that a lot when we're traveling. Airports at 2 a.m., watching other people hugging goodbye, or waiting for someone with flowers. It always hits me. The world is full of people finding each other at the right time. And I know my moment will come too. When it does, I hope it feels quiet. Not a headline, not a spectacle, just a moment between two people who know they found something rare. A look across the room, a small smile, that instant peace that says, you don't have to explain yourself anymore. That's what I'm waiting for. And until then, I'm just building myself. Brick by brick, song by song, lesson by lesson. Because maybe love isn't something you chase, maybe it's something you grow into. There's something I've been thinking about lately, how love doesn't just show up and stay because you want it to. It stays because you're ready to protect it. And I wasn't always ready for that. I used to think being protective meant keeping things private, guarding it from everyone. But now I realize it's not about hiding love, it's about nurturing it in peace. That's something I learned the hard way. The world can turn anything personal into a performance. A single glance, a smile, a moment of kindness, suddenly, it's news. That pressure used to make me believe that love and fame can't coexist. That one has to lose. But now, I think love just needs to be rooted deep enough that the noise can't reach it. There was a night not long ago when I was alone in my apartment, and it hit me how quiet my life can get when the cameras stop. I used to fill that silence with distractions, more work, more rehearsals, more goals. But that night, I didn't run from it. I sat in it. And for the first time, I didn't feel lonely. I felt ready. Ready to share that silence with someone who wouldn't need to fill it either. When you're always surrounded by sound fans, music, people, you start craving stillness. The kind of stillness that feels safe, not empty. Maybe that's what love is supposed to feel like. Not fireworks or chaos, but peace. A quiet knowing that you can be completely yourself and it's enough. I remember talking with Jimin about this during one of our late night drives. We weren't even trying to be deep, but he said something that stayed with me. Love isn't about being understood all the time. It's about being accepted even when you're not. And that's exactly it. Because no matter how much two people care, there will be moments they don't fully understand each other, and that's okay. Love doesn't demand understanding. It offers space. Sometimes I think about how BTS shaped the way I see connection. The bond we have as brothers, it's rare. We've seen each other through everything. Joy, burnout, laughter, tears, mistakes, miracles. We've fought and forgiven. And I think that's what real love looks like too. It's not perfect. It's not always calm, but it endures. It's patient even when you're not. Taehyung once said that love isn't about finding your other half. It's about finding another whole. That hit me harder than I expect. Because when you're whole on your own, you don't enter a relationship out of need. You enter out of choice. And that's the kind of marriage I want. Not because I'm searching for completion, but because I want to share my completeness with someone who's found theirs. Sometimes I wonder if I've already crossed paths with her and just didn't realize it. Maybe it was in a crowd, at a cafe, during a flight. Maybe she's someone who smiled at me once and kept walking. The world's funny like that. It lets two lives brush past each other quietly before they're ready to collide. And maybe she's out there right now, living her own story, learning her own lessons. Maybe she's becoming the version of herself that'll match mine when the time's right. And that thought gives me comfort knowing that readiness isn't just about me. It's about both of us arriving at the same moment, at the same level of peace. I used to think love needed to be loud to be real. Now I think love's strongest when it's silent but certain. When you don't need to prove it, post it, or explain it. When it just is, that's the kind of love I want. Unshakable, private, unperformed. J-Hope once told me that love is like rhythm. If you rush it, you lose the beat. If you force it, it breaks the flow. But when you listen closely to yourself, to the other person, it just clicks. I think that's what I'm finally learning to do. Listen. Not just to my music, not just to the world, but to the part of me that knows when something feels right. And when I meet her, I think I'll know. Not because it'll be perfect, but because I won't feel like I'm pretending anymore. I won't feel like I have to shrink parts of myself to fit. It'll just feel aligned. People think readiness is about being mature, about having it all together. But it's not. Readiness is just the moment when you stop chasing love and start becoming love. When you realize that what you've been waiting for isn't a person, it's a piece you build within yourself. That's what I feel now. Not impatience, not longing, just quiet, trust. Trust that life will bring her when both our songs are tuned to the same frequency. And when that happens, I'll be ready to play the melody we were meant to create together. Sometimes I wonder if the reason I took so long to talk about this is because I didn't trust myself to handle love gently. I've always been intense about everything I care about. Music, performance, goals. When I go in, I go all the way in. That kind of energy can build something incredible, but it can also burn people out if you don't learn control. Maybe that's why I kept love at a distance for so long. I was scared I'd give too much, or that I'd ask for too much in return. I remember Yoongijungkook once said, "Passion is beautiful until it forgets to rest." That line hit me deep, because that's exactly what I used to do. Forget to rest, forget to breathe, forget that I'm human. So lately, I've been learning how to slow down, to let the small moments breathe, to make space in my life that isn't filled with sound or deadlines. I think that's where love will live when it comes in those quiet spaces I used to rush past. There was one morning, not long ago, when I woke up before sunrise. No alarms, no schedule, just me, the city still half asleep. I made coffee, sat by the window, and watched the sky turn from gray to gold. For some reason, that moment felt sacred. I thought, if she were here right now, this is what I'd want her to see. Not the concerts or awards list, the peace I fought hard to find. Sometimes I imagine her sitting next to me, not saying anything, just being there. That image feels more real than any fantasy I've ever had. Because love, to me, isn't about the rush anymore. It's about the calm that stays after the rush fades. Namjoon always talks about honesty like it's oxygen, you can't live without it. I think that's true in relationships too. I used to think honesty meant saying everything that crossed my mind, but now I think it's deeper than that. It's about living in a way that makes your words believable. It's about being so genuine that even your silence feels truthful. That's what I want in a marriage. No games, no pretending, just truth, even when it's uncomfortable. I've watched people around me fall in love and fall apart. Some because timing wasn't right, some because they tried to change each other, and some because they didn't know who they were before they loved. And every time I learned something new. The lesson that keeps coming back is this: love doesn't fail when it ends. It fails when it makes you lose yourself. I never want that. I think about J-Hope's optimism a lot. How he always finds brightness even when things get heavy. He once told me, "The person meant for you will never dim that light in you. They'll dance in it." That line stays in my head because that's the kind of woman I'm waiting for. Someone who doesn't feel threatened by my fire, who doesn't need to compete with it, but who can shine right beside it. There's a version of me that the public sees, the performer, the idol, the perfectionist. But then there's the version that few people know, the one who worries too much, who second guesses, who gets quiet when he's hurt. My future wife will have to love both. The stage and the silence, the confidence and the chaos. Jin once told me that real love is when someone sees your worst moment and chooses to stay anyway. That hit different because staying is a choice every single day. You don't just fall in love once you keep choosing it. That's what marriage feels like to me. A daily decision to stay kind, to stay patient, to stay curious about each other. Sometimes I ask myself what kind of husband I'll be. I think I'll be the kind who listens more than he talks. The kind who apologizes when he's wrong, even if it takes a while to find the right word. The kind who writes love in small ways, making breakfast, fixing something, showing up when it matters. I want to love in actions, not performances. Maybe that's the biggest shift in me now. I don't want love to be a stage. I want it to be a home. A place where I don't have to be Jungkook of BTS, just Jungkook. A man who laughs too loud, gets shy too easily, and tries his best. I used to think marriage was about finding someone perfect. Now I know it's about finding someone willing. Someone who's not scared of imperfection, who believes that love is built, not discovered. And I think when I finally meet her, I'll recognize her, not by how beautiful she looks, but by how peaceful I feel around her. Maybe that's what readiness really means. Not that you've mastered life, but that you've softened enough to let love in. That's where I am now. Soft enough to receive it, strong enough to protect it. And if she's out there hearing this somehow, I hope she knows I'm getting ready. Not rushing, not hiding, just preparing my heart for the day our paths finally cross. There's something peaceful about getting older. You know, when you're younger, everything feels like a race to succeed, to prove yourself, to find the next thing that will make you feel alive. But somewhere along the way, you start realizing that peace is better than speed. That silence isn't emptiness, it's clarity. That love isn't supposed to rush you, it's supposed to ground you. I think that's why I can talk about marriage now without feeling scared. I'm not saying I figured life out, but I figured me out a little better. I've learned that I don't need someone who will complete my story. I need someone who will write alongside me, at her own pace. I don't need a perfect love story. I just need an honest one. There was this moment on tour once we were in a hotel somewhere overseas. Everyone else had gone to sleep, but I couldn't. I was looking out at the city lights from the window, and it suddenly hit me that I could have all the success in the world and still feel something missing. Not because I wasn't grateful, I was, but because achievements don't hold you when the lights go out. People do. Or maybe one day she will. When I told Namjoon that thought, he smiled and said, "That's when you start understanding love, when you stop needing it to fill a hole and start wanting it to share your fullness." I think that's what's changed in me. I'm not searching to be saved anymore. I just want to share the peace I've built. I think about the members a lot when it comes to love. They've seen me at my most stubborn, my most tired, my most human. If someone can love me through all that, that's when I'll know she's the one. Because she'll see me the way they do as a person, not a product. As someone flawed but real. Taehyung always jokes that I'll be the one who gets emotional at my own wedding, crying before the vows even start. And he's probably right, because if that moment ever comes, it won't be about the ceremony, it'll be about the journey that led there. Every doubt, every heartbreak, every night, I wondered if I was too different to be understood. All of it will have shaped me for that one person. I don't know what she'll be like, if she'll love music the way I do, or if she'll prefer quiet mornings to loud nights. But I do know she'll have a gentle strength, the kind that doesn't demand attention but holds everything together without needing to be seen. Someone who loves deeply but simply. Sometimes when I'm alone in the studio late at night, I imagine what it would be like to share that space. To have someone sitting on the couch, listening quietly as I work, not needing to talk, just being there. I think that's what love will look like for me. Not big gestures, not public confessions, but those small, sacred moments where presence says everything. People ask me if I'm afraid that marriage will change me. I think it will, but in the best way. It'll make me softer, more patient, more aware of how time passes. Because love teaches you to pay attention. To notice how someone breathes when they laugh, how they frown when they think, how they look when they're lost in a dream. Those little things, that's where real connection lives. Jin once said, "Love isn't about how much you give, it's about how gently you give it." That line stays with me. Because I've always been someone who gives all at once, intensely, passionately, sometimes recklessly. But gentle love, that's something new for me. The kind that doesn't rush, doesn't demand, doesn't need to be loud to be real. The kind that trusts time. I think about the future sometimes, not as a plan, but as a feeling. A home filled with laughter, maybe some dogs running around, music playing softly somewhere in the background, me cooking something half decent, her laughing at how I burned the first try. Ordinary, beautiful moments that don't need to be perfect. That's what I want. Not fame, not fantasy, just real life. Live fully and love deeply. So, if she's out there right now, whoever she is, I hope she's smiling. I hope she's living her life, chasing her dreams, becoming the woman she's meant to be. Because when our paths finally meet, I want to recognize her not just by how she looks, but by the peace she carries. I'll know it when I feel it. Until then, I'll keep growing. I'll keep learning how to love better, how to listen deeper, how to stay patient with life. Because love deserves a version of me that's ready, not perfect, but ready. Sometimes I think about how strange it is that the more you learn about love, the less you talk about it. When I was younger, I used to imagine it in big words and loud feelings. But now, I don't know, maybe love is supposed to be quiet. The kind that walks into a room and everything in you just exhales. Lately, I've been noticing that my life feels softer. Not easier, just softer. I still work hard, I still get restless, but there's a different rhythm now. Maybe it's maturity, or maybe it's just acceptance. I've stopped fighting the parts of me that used to make me feel unlovable. The obsessive focus, the constant need to create, the way I disappear into work. Those things used to make me think I wasn't built for love. Now I see they're just parts of who I am. And whoever ends up with me, she'll see that too. Not as a flaw, but as truth. I talked to J-Hope about that recently. He told me, you know, love doesn't need to fix you. It just needs to fit you. And I swear that's one of the most freeing things anyone's ever said to me. Because that's the kind of love I want. Not one that changes me, but one that makes me more of myself. There are moments when I still catch myself looking for signs. Like, I'll be walking somewhere and see a couple laughing, and for a split second I wonder what that must feel like to have someone know your rhythm so well that even your silence makes sense to them. Then I remind myself that my time will come. I'm not late. I'm not behind. I'm exactly where I need to be to become the man who can love like that. I think Jimin taught me something about that too. He's so present when he's with people. Like, he's not just hearing you, he's really with you. Watching him taught me that love isn't about grand gestures. It's about attention. About noticing the small things, the things nobody else catches. I think that's what marriage will be like for me, not fireworks, but paying attention. Knowing when she's tired, even if she doesn't say it. Remembering how she takes her coffee. Listening not to reply, but to understand. Sometimes I worry about what it'll be like for her to love someone whose life is always half public. To see her name in headlines for no reason. To deal with strangers having opinions about something sacred. That part scares me. But I think the right woman won't see it as a burden. She'll see it as part of the deal. Something we'll protect together. Because love doesn't run from pressure, it gets stronger under it when it's real. Namjoon told me once, you can't control who understands you, but you can control how honestly you show up. That's the rule I want to live by. I can't promise perfection, but I can promise truth. And I think that's what I'll bring into my marriage, honesty, even when it's messy. There are nights when I picture the future in small fragments. Me driving home from the studio, her waiting with a smile that feels like peace. Mornings where the sunlight hits the kitchen just right. Days when we argue but still reach for each other by the end of it. Not a perfect life, just a real one. That's what I'm ready for. I think about the kind of vows I'd make. Not promises of forever, but promises of effort. To keep learning her even after years. To keep choosing kindness even when it's hard. To keep showing up as myself, even when that self feels uncertain. Because love isn't about never changing. It's about changing together. There's a calm that comes with that realization. I don't feel desperate for love anymore. I just feel prepared. Like I'm standing at a train station, suitcase packed, not rushing, not forcing, just trusting that when the right train arrives, I'll know to get on. And when that happens, when our worlds finally align, I'll be ready to look at her and say, I know who you are. I've been preparing my heart for you without even realizing it. That's the kind of love I believe in now. Patient, peaceful, certain. There are nights when I still ask myself what love will really feel like for me. Will it come slowly, like sunlight creeping through the curtains? Or will it hit like a song I can't stop replaying? I don't know. Maybe it'll be both. Maybe it'll start small, a conversation, a look, and then grow into something that changes the way I breathe. What I do know is that when it comes, I want to recognize it not by how excited I feel, but by how safe I feel. I used to chase excitement. Every feeling had to be intense, or it didn't feel real. But intensity fades, and safety stays. The people who stay calm with you, who don't make you guess, who make you feel like you can be quiet without it turning awkward, that's the kind of love that lasts. Yoongijungkook told me once, love that lasts doesn't shout, it hums. And I get that now. It's not about proving anything. It's about being there when nobody's watching. I think that's the kind of marriage I want someday. The kind that hums quietly in the background of life, steady and sure. Sometimes when the members and I are traveling, I'll look around and realize how much they've become my example of love in different forms. Namjoon teaches me patience, J-Hope teaches me hope itself, Jin shows me steadiness, Taehyung shows me curiosity, Yoongi shows me truth, Jimin shows me care. I've been surrounded by love this whole time. Just not the romantic kind, the kind that grows you, that holds you accountable, that keeps you human. And maybe that's why I'm ready now. Because before you can love someone else deeply, you have to know how to love your people deeply. There's a comfort that comes with realizing you don't have to rush. Everyone around me is always asking, so when's the wedding, Jungkook? And I just laugh. Because this isn't about a date or a deadline. It's about timing, divine, quiet timing. The kind you don't control, you just prepare for. I think when she shows up, it won't feel like a new chapter starting. It'll feel like a continuation of something I've been writing all along. Like, I'll look at her and think, oh, there you are. I've been talking to you in my songs this whole time. Sometimes I imagine introducing her to the members. The thought always makes me smile. I can see Jimin teasing me, Taehyung acting dramatic, Jin giving her advice about patience, J-Hope making her laugh right away, Namjoon quietly studying how we fit together, Yoongi pretending not to care but secretly approving. That moment will mean more to me than any award I've ever won. Because it won't just be me bringing someone into my life, it'll be bringing her into our family. And I know it won't be perfect. We'll argue, we'll misunderstand each other. There will be days when I'll say the wrong thing or forget to listen. But I'll keep showing up. That's what love is. Showing up even when it's uncomfortable. Choosing peace over pride. Choosing her over and over again. I think a lot about what I'll tell our kids one day if we're lucky enough to have them. I'll tell them that their mom taught me what love really means. That it isn't grand gestures or flawless stories. It's small moments stacked quietly over time. It's forgiveness. It's staying curious about the person you think you already know. There's something healing about that idea. Because all this time, I thought love was something that might break me. Now I realize it's the thing that will build me into someone softer, stronger, truer. The man who's finally ready, not just to be loved, but to love fully. So, when I say I know who my future wife is, I don't mean her name or her face. I mean, I know her essence. I know the peace she'll bring, the honesty she'll carry, the way she'll remind me to be human, even when the world calls me something larger than life. I know she'll feel like home. And that's enough for now. Because sometimes knowing you're ready is the only step you need to take before everything else begins. You know, sometimes I think the reason I've waited this long to talk about marriage is because I wanted to understand what love actually means when everything else fades. Fame, attention, even the sound of applause, they all fade. What stays is who you are when the lights go off. And I've spent years figuring that out. I've made mistakes, I've pushed people away, I've overworked myself thinking purpose was enough. But now I know purpose without peace feels empty. And peace only comes when you stop running from your own heart. I don't know when she'll walk into my life, but I know what I'll say when she does. I'll tell her that I've been learning how to love her before I ever met her. Through every late night studio session, every quiet morning, every lesson, the members have taught me about patience and forgiveness. I'll tell her I built this life not for her to fill, but for her to join. And that I'm ready to walk beside her, not ahead, not behind, because love isn't a chase. It's a rhythm you learn together. I've watched how Namjoon balances thought and feeling, how Yoongi finds honesty in silence, how Hobi holds joy even in exhaustion, how Jin stays gentle through responsibility, how Taehyung protects his curiosity, how Jimin keeps his heart open no matter what. Each of them showed me a different kind of love, and I think the right woman will carry all of that energy somehow. The calm, the truth, the laughter, the light. When I picture her now, I don't see details. I just feel warmth. A voice that softens the noise in my head. Hands that don't need to hold me all the time but never let me fall. The kind of presence that reminds you home isn't a place, it's a person. And I know there'll be challenges. My life will always be loud, unpredictable, public. But love isn't about avoiding the noise. It's about finding someone you can stay quiet with inside it. Someone who doesn't need to compete with the world's attention. Because she knows that when it's just us, I'm fully there. That's what I'll promise her, to be fully there. Marriage, for me, won't be about completing a checklist or following tradition. It'll be about truth. Two people deciding to build something steady, even when everything around them moves fast. To laugh when it's messy. To forgive when it's hard. To keep choosing each other when it would be easier not to. That's real to me. And if one day I stand in front of her, looking into her eyes, I think I'll remember this exact feeling, this calm certainty. I'll remember all these nights I spent talking to you, trying to put it into words. I'll realize it was never about waiting for perfection. It was about growing into readiness. Because love doesn't come to the perfect version of you, it comes to the honest one. So here I am, honest, open, a little scared, but finally peaceful. I know who my future wife is, not her face, not her name, but her spirit. She's the one who will love the way I do, with loyalty, with curiosity, with patience, with fire. The one who won't ask me to choose between my dream and my heart, because she'll see they're the same thing. And until that day, I'll keep doing what I've always done. Sing, grow, learn, become. I'll keep writing songs that maybe she'll hear someday and smile, recognizing herself in every lyric she inspired without knowing it. Because when she finally arrives, I want her to walk into a life that's already full of peace, not emptiness. So, yeah, I'm ready. Not for the wedding, not for the headlines, but for her, for the real thing. For love that feels like coming home after a long tour, where the silence is soft and the world finally makes sense again. That's all I want to tell you tonight. Thanks for listening. And if you're out there waiting for your person too, don't rush. Build your peace. When the time's right, love will find you in it. The camera lingers on Jungkook's face for a moment after he stops speaking. The room is still no words. Just the low hum of a studio monitor and the distant heartbeat of city lights through the window. He looks down, exhales, then smiles. Not the performance smile the world knows, but a real one. Small and tired and peaceful. I think that's enough for tonight, he says quietly, almost to himself. If you made it this far, thank you for listening. I don't really know why I wanted to share all that, but I guess sometimes you need to say things out loud to finally believe them. He glances toward the microphone again. Wherever you are, he adds softly, I hope you're learning to love your own life too, because that's the only way love will ever find you, when you're already full, already peaceful. Then he stands, stretches a little, and turns off the main light. Only the glow from the console stays on, painting half of his face in gold. He looks back one last time and says, I'll keep working, keep living, keep waiting, and when she arrives, I'll be ready. He puts on his hoodie, slips his hands into the pockets, and walks out. The door clicks shut. The screen fades to black. A soft piano begins to play. This was Jungkook.